In this video, I'll be teaching you how to make Stella's Ahi Sashimi dish that uses dehydrated sesame oil, which is a fun little feature, and also Cantaloupe Caviar using basic ionic spherification. So to start, you'll need a few things. Definitely a nice piece of ahi loin, sashimi grade. This is A+1 grade ahi, and we have a video on how to actually break that down and fabricate it. Some pickled cucumber strips that have been cut on your mandolin. A seaweed salad that can be picked up at any Asian market. Some of our house-made ponzu, and also some sesame oil with some tapioca maltodextrin, and that's how you're going to dehydrate it. And I'll have links to all this in the show notes. Also, here's some cantaloupe juice. And don't worry about the measurements right now, but that's about 400 grams. And also, you're going to need calcium chloride and sodium alginate to make the caviar. So first, you're going to start by weighing out your cantaloupe juice. And really, the important thing to realize here is that it's all done by ratios to make your cantaloupe caviar. So to your cantaloupe juice, you're going to add 1% by weight sodium alginate. When you add the sodium alginate to your juice, and this can be any juice that's not high in acid, you want to let it hydrate a little bit. So I'm just going to spoon over some of the juice on top of the sodium alginate and let it hydrate for about 2 minutes. Next, I'm going to hit it with an immersion blender to make sure that it is evenly dispersed throughout the entire mixture. And here I'm going to be blending it for about 30 to 60 seconds. And this is going to be an important step to make sure that the alginate is completely dispersed throughout the juice. Once fully incorporated, you want to pass it through a chinois or a fine mesh strainer, and you can go ahead and push it through using a ladle. This is going to make sure that you have a nice smooth texture, and any alginate that clumped during the mixing process, it wasn't fully dispersed, will be caught in the mesh screen. Next, you're going to make your calcium chloride bath. You're going to weigh out just some cold water, and here I'm doing about 500 grams. And again, this is going to be a 1% ratio by weight. So for 500 grams of cold water, I'll need to add to that 5 grams of calcium chloride. And it'll disperse into the water fairly easily. All you need to do is hit it with a little bit of a whisk, and after a couple of minutes, it'll dissolve and your water will become clear again, and at that point you know that the calcium chloride has completely dissolved into your water. Next, we're going to make the dehydrated sesame oil, and this is tapioca maltodextrin, which is an extremely lightweight bulking agent that has the ability to dehydrate fat. Now, the cool thing is once the maltodextrin hits moisture, such as the moisture on your palate, it dissolves away almost instantly, leaving you behind the fat, which gives you the sensation of a dehydrated fat rehydrating back into its original form. Now here I'm just mixing it together with a whisk. A better way to do this is using a food processor. It's much more efficient and it's faster. And also here it's mounding up, and I kind of like that feature because it makes it look a little bit more like an organic soil almost. But if for whatever reason you want a fine powder or a fine dust, you can take this dehydrated sesame oil and pass it through a tamise or a chinois. Now at this point, when we get an order for our sashimi dish, we have a calcium chloride bath already set aside, and we pour into our tray a cantaloupe juice and alginate mixture. We're going to use this syringe with it's basically a caviar maker that we suck up this juice using the syringe, and it has multiple holes, and you can drop it directly into the calcium chloride bath. Now as soon as that alginate mixture hits the calcium chloride bath, it starts to gel from the outside in. Now this process cannot be stopped, so you have to make it to order and let it sit for about 60 seconds and then rinse. So you're going to drain off into a different container and going to rinse real quick under cold running water. And this is to get the calcium chloride off of the exterior of the caviar because it is quite bitter. Next, while that's sitting in the strainer, draining off, you're going to cut some slices of sashimi. Now here I'm using a sharp knife and I'm drawing it through the saku block or the piece of sashimi in one solid motion. And this is going to give me a nice even slice without that jagged hacksaw look. Next, I'm going to lay some pickled cucumber strips that have been cut down to size directly in the center of a skateboard plate, and you can change this presentation to fit your needs. And on top of those pickled cucumbers, I'm going to place the wakame seaweed salad, which you can pick up at any local Asian supermarket. And on top of the seaweed salad, I'm going to simply shingle the slices of ahi. From here, I'm going to take some of our house-made orange teriyaki sauce, kind of like a teriyaki glaze, and I'm going to put a little bit on top of the ahi and then do a little design around the plate. Next, I'll place a little bit of the dehydrated sesame oil in opposing corners of the plate, and this allows us to control the amount of sesame oil that you get per bite, and it doesn't spool all over the plate. And then finally, I'm going to top with our cantaloupe caviar that's been sitting there no longer than about 3 minutes, and this will give you a nice fruity burst and texture. For more information on this dish, go to stellaculinary.com/TCD2.